TipTut. Hello everybody and welcome back to TipTut and welcome back to Intro to Adobe Animate 2018. Let's jump right in because I'm guessing you guys aren't starting from video 3. If you have, go back to video 1. Start from there. Last time we made this. In the end, we'll be making this. It looks pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with what we've got so far. So let's carry on. We've done the face, the nose, the horns, the mouth. What we're going to do now is the hair. This is our first venture into nested timelines, so pay attention on this one. I'm going to create a new layer and call this hair. And I'm going to grab my pen tool that I had before, making sure I was on this charcoal brush. And I'm going to drop down to maybe 4 width. Okay. I'm just going to quickly lock everything we've done so far and outline it so that I can see my sketch underneath. And go back to the first frame so it all roughly lines up. Okay. So each of these little blocks of hair, I'm just going to come in now. I'm just going to click and drag my pen tool, and I'm going to make a little hair like that. Maybe 8 is okay. Let's see. Yeah, 8's much better. Let's leave it on the thickness of 8. Now, to deselect this, I'm just going to hit V to pick the selection tool and then P again to go back to the pen tool. That's a good way to sort of cut off the end of your line. Otherwise, if I create a line like this and then I go on to create another hair, it's just going to join the two together. Hitting V and then P deselects and goes back to it. So I'm just going to be quickly drawing out all of these. I may change some of their locations, angles, that sort of thing. You don't want everything to be too uniform. Bearing in mind that I'm following the sketch, but also taking into account the new shapes of our actual line. And our actual new piece of body here. Put one, make that one a bit longer, I think. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's zoom out. Let's add another one down here. Like so. Now, I don't want these to be this color, however. I want them to be this dark green. That looks pretty good. And let's un-outline everything that we've just made. Perfect. Okay, I'm just going to hide the image underneath now, just so I get a bit of a better view of what I want. And whilst we're here, we might as well add in a new layer, drag that to the bottom and call it background. Okay. Now, you can add, if you wanted to, just a background with a square like this, which I was planning on doing. Or if you don't want to include a background layer, you can just select nothing and then choose your stage background here. You can do selecting colors by eyedropping, things like that, or typing in your correct code. What I'm going to do is just eyedropper that background like so. Okay, perfect. Let's take a look. Cool. At the moment, our hair doesn't move, but it does sit correctly on the first frame. I might just tweak a few of these, just move them over a little bit. Maybe evenly or more evenly space out this hair down here. Maybe something like that. That one looks a bit funny. Maybe we can just get rid of that one. No, let's leave it there. Let's leave it there, but let's rotate him out a bit. There you go. I think that looks pretty good. Actually, no, that doesn't look good at all. Let's bring this guy back around. Let's just bring him down like that. Okay, perfect. Now, these hairs look pretty good, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag them underneath my mouth layer, just in case any of them do go into the same place as our mouth when it is open. And let's take a look. So let's select our hair keyframe. That's going to select every single hair that we've drawn so far, and I'm going to hit F8. This creates a new symbol. Now there's 2, or technically 3, but 2 that we're going to look at. 2 types of symbols that you can use, a graphic and a movie clip. There's also a button, but we won't go into that. The difference between a graphic and a movie clip is, in the nested timeline, if I just hit play on my normal timeline and the symbol is a graphic, we will see the preview of that animation without exporting it. If it were a movie clip, all we'd see is the first frame until we exported it, and then that nested timeline would play. For now, just choose graphic. That's all we need. And we're going to call it hair. Okay, perfect. Let's pop inside this symbol now. This timeline here isn't going to change at all. All of our animation we're going to do inside this nested timeline, and you'll quickly find out why. Double click inside there and you can see that all of our shapes are on one layer. Now, if we try to shape between these as they are, they would get seriously messed up because there's so many shapes. This is why you want separate layers for each one and animate them individually. Okay. What I am going to do, let's try this as a pen tool. It may have some unexpected results. If it does, we may have to turn each of these into their own little symbol, which we could do straight away. But just to, actually, I'll do it with a pencil first, just to show you, just in case you come across this same sort of thing. With the vector brushes, you can get sometimes unexpected results if you're animating them. So let's just take a look at that. Let's select all of these and choose right click, distribute to layers. Doesn't matter what order they go in really. And now we've got each one of these shapes on its own individual layer and our original layer with nothing left on it. So you can just delete that original layer. Okay. Now, if I select all of these, they're all separated out, which means when I animate them, I can animate them one at a time individually without them affecting each other. So I'm going to go to 1 second and hit F6, and I'll just quickly show you that outside of our timeline here, we've now moved to the correct frame. So we're on frame 24 outside of our symbol, and inside of our symbol, we're on frame 24. Okay. If I move to frame 12 and it had a keyframe, you can see that that lines up. However, there's no keyframe on this symbol of our hair. Now, if I enter the keyframe, if I enter the symbol on frame 1, the faded rest of the document stays on frame 1. And if I scrub through, nothing seems to happen. Okay, this is to stop you from getting distracted, essentially. If I enter this keyframe on frame 12, if I enter this symbol, it stays the same and doesn't move. So it's important at this point that we enter this symbol on frame 12 so that we can use the rest of the animation that we've made as a guideline. So let's go to frame 12, let's go inside, and you'll see that it's lined up with our keyframes. All we need to do is move these. Okay, so let's turn on onion skin like so, and we'll move them into their new position. Now it's important, you should probably try to keep them in the same place as their originals. So if we know, for example, when we drop out, this one's in the middle of his forehead, these are in kind of an arc below his mouth, and these go down the left and blah, blah, blah. When we go to this new one here, we can kind of keep that same positioning, even though technically the hair is moving quite a lot. So it's going to look like it's moving in place rather than just jimmying all over the place. Yeah. Now you can do that quite easily just by moving these around, but bearing in mind that he is turning his body away slightly as he does this, so there will be some significant movement, and it's good to just vary them a little bit anyway so it doesn't look too stale. These ones won't move too much. They may move up a bit as he stretches his body, but they definitely won't move like they're moving here. Okay, they might come up like that, for example. These ones might come up like maybe this. Like so. Let's spin this one out so you can still see him behind his mouth. Let's rotate this one a little bit. And let's spin this one out too. And then maybe we'll bring this guy up like that. Okay, pretty happy with that. Now you know this next step. We're going to grab all of our keyframes and create a classic tween. Now, excuse me, not a classic tween, a shape tween. Now, it looks like we're pretty lucky. You can tell from the onion skin here that most of these haven't flipped around, haven't done anything weird. But let's just have a look with our loop turned on. Okay, loop on. No, it turns out we are okay. Sometimes when using vector brushes, we're very lucky here. Sometimes on random frames, these brushes will disappear if the vector doesn't quite understand what it should be displaying. To help illustrate what I mean, if we go to like a big thick brush, and we just draw a shape, you'll notice that like so, you'd expect here the line to follow this shape. It follows this one correctly. As soon as you add a second one, it kind of messes up and then there's like a hole missing here. This is because these vector brushes are so detailed that it has to and the very nature of vector, it sort of re-renders them each time you add a new point, and that can create some unexpected effects like these little gaps here. Because these are quite simple, we got away with it. If it was more complicated, we may have some unexpected effects as we tweened between these. But we're very lucky, we got away with it. Let's grab all these and add in our easing like we did before. Ease in, out, cubic. Looks good to me. Now, when we drop back into our main frame, we can see that animation taking place. If this were a movie clip, in fact, let's see if we can make it a movie clip. We wouldn't see that animation. Technically, it's still there. If we go inside that frame again, and we play inside the symbol, we see it, but because it's a movie clip, it doesn't play until you render the movie. So let's just change that back to graphic. And there you go. That hair looks pretty good, to be honest. I'm quite happy with that. Let's jump into the mouth then. This is a whole thing. If I go back to the other version that I've already made here, you can see what happens with the mouth. It kind of opens up and there's some teeth in the tongue, but you don't see the teeth in the tongue. Now, if you were to draw each of that would take a lot of time to cut all this out. What you can actually see is happening is I have a symbol for the mouth, and there is a mask, which is masking my teeth and tongue layers, and then there's the lips underneath. So that's what we're going to do right now. Let's pop back to our other animation here, and let's get to it. Okay, the first step is to create the outline of the mouth that we need. Now, there's going to be some weird steps in here that you may not understand straight away, the reasoning why we're doing them, that is, but just follow along and hopefully you will understand by the end. Okay, we're going to double click and select everything on our mouth layer and hit Control-C to copy that. We're then going to create a new layer and we're going to call this one Mouth Inner. Okay, from there, we're going to hit Edit, Paste in Place. Let's shrink this down a little bit, like so, until we get a lip size that we're roughly happy with. And let's make it this black color, okay? Now let's leave that stroke in as well, so that we've got a yellow stroke and a black inner mouth at the moment, okay? Now, I'm gonna select both of these, right click, and convert them to a symbol. Okay, like so. We're going to then call this one Mouth Inner, and it's going to be a graphic. Let's go to our 12th frame, open this up. We're going to have to add in some frames here, so F5 to add in those. And let's go to our 12th frame and hit F6, okay? Now what we're going to do is just delete these completely, get rid of them. With our pen tool, we're going to go through and we're going to draw our new mouth. Okay, bearing in mind the size of the lips that you want to keep. Maybe something like this and like this. I'm just going to round off this corner a little bit. It's a bit harsh at the moment, like so, but that looks pretty good. And then let's fill, oops, auto recovery there. Let's fill those lips in. That gives us the fully open, but however, when we want it fully closed, we don't want this shape here. What we want is like a almost fully closed mouth. So we can grab this and we can, if we actually drop out and go back to our first frame and then drop back in, it'll give us the background of that. And we can then start shifting this down, bringing him in a little bit, rotating him around. Now the reason we did it this way is because we don't want to redraw this, because as we shape tween it, we'll get some unexpected results. If we just squish it, we're going to be more likely to get the results we want from the shape tween, because all the points are the same, they've just been squished. If you have to redraw them, you may get some unexpected results, like so. Yeah, that's pretty good. Let's see what that shape tween looks like. Oh, still got some unexpected results, or some unwanted results. So let's see if we can fix that with a few shape hints. Modify shape, add shape hint. Let's do that a couple of times. And let's pop shape hint B there, shape hint A here. Oh. That actually looks pretty good because like the little pincer movement, it goes ma 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 ma. I don't know though. No, I don't like that. Let's undo it. In fact, let's undo all this. Let's undo the squishiness too. Like so. And let's have a think. That's fine. We like that. That's less fine. But we're going to be adding teeth in anyway. So if we did this and gave him big chompy teeth, that'd probably work. Yeah, there we go. That looks fine. Let's do that and we'll give him big chompy teeth as well. So let's copy this. And let's add a new blank keyframe with F7 and then Control-Shift-V to paste it in place. And then a shape tween and then our usual easing. Ease in and out, cubic. Okay. Oops, I've got the loop on. Cool. Let's try adding a bunch of shape hints actually. Just to help that bottom lip. This guy. Oops. And this guy. And then down here. It can be this guy and this guy. There you go. Let's help that bottom lip a little bit. Yeah, cool. Happy with that. Okay, this is going to be our mask layer. Let's drop out and see what that looks like. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. However, let's just quickly tweak this by rotating him a little bit around there. Maybe not even that much. Maybe just like that. And then move him over a bit. And then we can paste this guy in place here. Perfect. Okay. Happy. Oops. Our dude's now disappeared. That's no good. There you go. That'll do. We'll leave it like that. I'm pretty happy with that. Awesome. Okay. So we have our mouth. We're pretty happy with it. It's looking pretty good. It's opening and closing. Okay, we now need to create the mask for the teeth and the things inside of that mouth. So the rest of this is going to be done inside the mouth layer. We'll take that mask, we'll duplicate it, and we'll call the one underneath lips bottom for now. We may not end up needing it, but it's good just to have. Okay, now let's create a bunch of teeth for this guy. I'm just going to grab my brush tool and should we give him spiky teeth or round teeth? I gave the other guy spiky teeth, but I feel like I gave the other guy round teeth, but I feel like this guy might need spiky teeth. Let's see what spiky teeth look like. I'm just going to roughly draw them because I like that kind of rough look to them. And I had object drawing on, so it's nice and solid. And just holding Alt and Shift, I'm going to copy these a few times. Let's have maybe 4 times, like so. Then I'm going to go to, I'm going to cut these and I'm going to put them on their own layer called teeth top, and I'm going to paste them on the middle frame here. Now I'm going to position them when they're open because that's the most important part. So I'm going to start bringing these around. Maybe these outside ones can be rotated a little bit so they look a bit more creepy. Maybe we can reflect these and rotate them so they look less uniform. That looks pretty good. Pretty happy with that. Cool. I'm going to grab all of these and turn them into a symbol. Graphic is fine. We'll just call these teeth. Let's copy those. Create a new layer called teeth bottom. Paste them in place and rotate them around to be the bottom teeth. That looks pretty good. What I'm going to do though on these ones is offset them just a little bit, so that they look like they might just hit the gaps. Yeah, happy with that. Good. Okay, so we have our teeth. We now need to draw the tongue, and that's going to be a nice wobbly one. Let's have the tongue be the same color as the skin, so I'm just going to sample that, but be a bit lighter, and just go like that. That looks rubbish. Let's have the tongue do this. There you go. That looks pretty good. Fill in this. Oops. Put the tongue on its own layer first. Called tongue. And then I'm going to fill it in. Oops. Fill it in like that. So what was happening there is it was accidentally selecting the layers underneath it. So now I've got my big tongue and I'm just going to bring him around like this. Stick him there. We'll make a symbol out of him, why not? And put the anchor point somewhere down there like that. Then we can have this guy rotate around a little bit. Cool. So at the moment, our mouth looks rubbish because we haven't got anything masked up properly. So we're going to grab our mask layer, we're going to drag it all the way to the top, and we're going to right click and choose mask. Okay. Now, what that does is it automatically takes the layer that's right underneath it and masks it to that layer. It's a bit hard to see because the tongue's the same color, but you can see at the moment that those layers are now being cut off underneath from that mask. Sorry, the teeth, not the tongue. So the bottom teeth layer is being cut off inside of that mask. If we wanted the others to as well, it's nice and easy. You can just hold Alt and drag those inside. Don't hold Alt, sorry. Alt is After Effects. You can just click and drag them inside that layer. Now, if you lock them, they'll be part of the mask. If you unlock them so that you can edit them and change their animations and everything, it'll obviously become visible again so that you can see what you're doing. Okay, same thing goes for the mask here. You can just hide it to see what you're doing. If you lock all of these, your mask will work flawlessly. Okay. Now, I don't quite like these lips on the mask. So what I'm going to do is hide these layers and release them from the mask. And I'm just going to make all of this one solid color. To act completely as a mask. Why is that not working? Maybe let's just remove the stroke here from our mask layer. Is it because they're objects and these ones are not objects? I believe it is the case, yes. Let's unbreak this and unbreak this and then... Yeah, that looks pretty good. All right, blah, 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 blah. All right, cool. Ignore all of that. That was me just faffing because I'm a big faffy boy. Let's unlock these layers and let's do our little teeth animation. So where do we want them to first start off? Well, we know that this is where we're happy with them when they open. So we'll just create a keyframe there. And we'll go back to where they start. And we'll just have all of them crunch all the way down so that it mostly fills up that mouth. And we'll have the tongue come all the way down. And maybe spin into it a bit. And then we'll copy these frames to the last frame. Let's add in some motion tweens, classic tweens, because these are all symbols. Ease in and out, cubic. Let's lock them up again, and let's see what we're left with. That looks brilliant. Let's check it out in relation to the rest of this animation. Awesome. That looks really good. His mouth kind of moves out a little bit too far for my liking though. Like to the right, if you know what I mean. So I'm going to grab this outside mouth and I'm just going to bring it in a little bit on that frame. Maybe to there. And then maybe let's do the same thing inside of the mouth layer too. You just select all of these and move them over a bit. And then lock them back up again. And that looks fine. Awesome. All right, we're pretty much there. The last thing to do is all the frame by frame goodness that I'm sure you've all been waiting for. So we'll do that next time on the final episode of this little animation. And hopefully you guys will have a complete first animation for you to show off to all your friends. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. I do appreciate it. And I'll see you all next time.
Remember to subscribe for more tips, tricks, and tutorials. Thanks for watching.